and you can feel it. Like when you're there, you kind of feel it. You're just like like this place is old, and like I'm a part of like contributing to like whether I'm like sitting and interacting and kind of contributing to, I don't want to say the
Hmm.
energy, but like
Yeah.
the vibe,
Yeah.
and you can feel the lived space. And I think there's something to be said about like lived spaces
Mm.
that aren't tourist attractions. I feel like lived spaces that are tourist attractions make it less enjoyable to be there. But with this being said, right, and I think it's important to even talk about 15-minute cities based off of our experiences outside of Canada.
Yeah.
Um, Based off, if you can read Alex's last name, if it's still on the board, I don't know.
Yeah.
Uh, this lady's Greek, and so you were talking about how these like little communities, and you were talking about like the access to spaces, and maybe from your experiences living in other spaces too, if you want to share. I'm sure some people haven't had the privilege to travel, or
Yeah.
fortune, maybe privilege shouldn't be the word, but like the fortune to,
Yeah. To
or
travel
the
to other places.
experience. Yeah, the experience.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like I feel like when we talk about these like 15-minute neighborhoods, yeah, there are definitely certain cities that already have that infrastructure in place. Like people already live in this 15 minute like experience like currently, and that's just the way the city is oriented. Like I know so my family's they're Athenians, they're based in Athens, and so I go back pretty regularly. And honestly, my favorite part about living when I do go and spend my summers there is that accessibility. You have the tram, which I love the tram. Which I disclaimer is the tram is really good. I think one of the funny things about the tram in Athens in particular is that
What is the tram? You
oh
can't
sorry the
just
tram sorry the tram is a streetcar.
okay.
Yeah,
How do you spell it?
tram.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a streetcar. But what was I going to go with this? Oh yeah, the like
Oh,
running
okay.
jokes about the tram is that like it's really good, I think, for like tourists. And if you're trying to get somewhere at a certain time, it's not great, but it is. I personally love it because I have a thing for above ground transit.
This thing?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, streetcar.
exactly.
That looks like a subway
It does
cart.
look like a subway, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's really nice in there. Except it's so narrow. Like if someone sits in front of you, you're basically like knocking knees. And I'm like, bro, please, um, please send help.
Okay. Yeah, just a streetcar.
Yeah, essentially, yeah,
Interesting.
just a streetcar, quite narrow. But where's it going with this? Yeah, so yeah, you have access to the tram. Obviously, you have access to the beach, depending where you live as well. So, but then that being said, access to all these different like third places that you can enjoy for free up there and just in the sunshine, and that's all you see is the streets are full of like old, like there's a lot of old people in my neighborhood, but the streets are full of old people, full of cats as usual as well, but full of old people, full of kids, full of families and whatnot, like just engaging with the public space and the city in different ways. But anyway, but going back to the what I was saying before is that yeah, within my neighborhood, you go down the street, you have several like you have clothing stores, like little small locally owned like boutiques. You have tons of like you have quite a few grocery stores, you have bakeries. I love my favorite part about traveling to Europe is all the bakeries you have access to, and the variety of them, and for a relatively good price as
Mhm.
well. You have access to schools and all these different things that make living in the city like the reason why we come to cities ultimately is to have this
Enjoyable.
yeah, that makes it enjoyable and why we have access to all these different things. But like similarly, I've been really lucky to be able to go to Paris, and that was my favorite part going there too, is there's a bakery around every corner. I love having my little croissant in the morning if I can. But that being said, it also there's a lot of public spaces as you're walking through the city for people to convene, people to meet, to interact, and you don't have to pay for it. You can just be, you can just live, and I think that's important. You don't have to stay at home all the time, and it's a lot easier to not stay at home, I feel like, in some of these places than it is here.
Yeah.
Maybe blame the snow, maybe blame my particular neighborhood where I'm in the northern part of the city, so it takes me a bit of a while to go downtown. But actually, that being said, even my neighborhood is a 15-minute neighborhood because I have who knows how many dentists. Honestly, there's like 6 schools ranging from like high schools to middle school to
Just
elementary school.
imagine you
Yeah,
measure 15-minute cities by how many dentists you have nearby. I
there's a
have 14
ridiculous
dentists right next to my house.
there's a ridiculous amount of
100%.
dentists. There's like
No.
there's like a lot around here. I don't know how they all stay in business. I guess there's a lot of kids with a lot of teeth going around. So anyway, like,
Little kids and their stupid teeth.
they're keeping them afloat. Yeah, you have access to bakeries. There's a grocery store. Like the subway station is only like a few minutes walk away from me, and I live across the street from a park, like 3 parks, and then also in Toronto, if you ever come visit or check it out, there's a ravine network. So basically, it's a trail, like a walking and biking trail, that connects through. Yeah, it's like a trail of greenery that goes throughout the city, and you can go from one end to the city pretty much to the other just through this internal network. And if like a 10-minute walk outside of my house, I can access the trail and go end up who knows where in Toronto. We've walked it, we've done it. We went all the way to the gardens.
Gardens.
That botanical gardens place after Frisbee. Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't there. Was I there?
You
Oh,
literally
was that
were
with
there.
like everyone? Like
Yeah.
10 of us?
Yeah.
That's true.
Exactly. So you've seen it.
Yeah.
It connects to the
Yeah.
rest of the city. You can end up almost anywhere. But yeah,
The trail.
Yeah, the trail. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. I'm trying to think. I just remember the pain.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a trek. We kind of walked for like a long time.
That was like 2-3. I came out in like flip-flops.
Yeah.
Flip-flops are like slides, whatever
Slides
you want
and
to call them.
socks.
I'm just like, I can't run, guys. I just came back from visiting my brother in Europe. I have terrible blisters. I don't care if it's too much information. And then they're like, no worries, it's a short walk. 3 hours later, I'm like, oh my God.
Literally
It's just a
limping.
15-minute walk. Trust me, I live in a 15-minute neighborhood. I'm like, okay. Oh my God.
Yeah.
30,000 steps later.
But I mean, to be fair, he wore
To
socks and
amputate my
slides to
toes
play
off.
Frisbee.
She just tossed a Frisbee with the boys, you know?
Yeah.
As
Well,
they say.
yeah.
As they say out
Rub this
here in the
upon
country.
yourself.
In the boys. That's good. That's the Wi-Fi. With my Wi-Fi.
It's good.
It's good. Okay, good. Interesting. That's good.
What about
Similar.
you?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what about you?
Wi-Fi on your end?
No, not the Wi-Fi.
Oh, my lived experience?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd say it's hard because I was like quite young. So like, visiting Damascus or like Syria, Damascus, and like the area we lived in. There was definitely times where like me and my brother, myself, my cousin, maybe my sister or something, like we'd walk to spaces, stop here, go to the mosque, and go to get like bread from the bread maker, go to here. Definitely walkable. It's hard to say like, oh, it's like a complete 15-minute city, because I'm not 100% sure if it was a complete 15-minute city, but you could get everything you need. But also it's like, I remember like you had food, like a grocery delivery from like in those countries, you just get like a little boy to deliver your milk for you right in the morning, just from their farm, and you're just like, okay,
thank you.
it's like a cent or like a quarter. Yeah. Yeah, no, I think overall though, it is a lot more engaging, interactive. You can walk. It's nice to walk. A lot of traffic, of course, and then the areas you do go to, that's very like walkable and engaging. Like, I think that's why like I meet people here that either they were refugees or something, right? And they came here and they're just like, man, just bring it back, please. Right? It gives you something to do. It's like weird. It's like even though we have it here, it's very different, because I think the spaces they've been around for like, some of these spaces have been around for, I don't even know how long. I'm not gonna say a number. Someone's gonna like, you're so wrong, but like some of these spaces have been around for a minute, like a really, 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 really long time, and you can feel it. Like when you're there, you kind of feel it. You're like this place is old, and like I'm a part of like contributing to, like, whether I'm like sitting and interacting and kind of contributing to, I don't want to say the energy, but like the vibe, and you can feel the lived space. And I think there's something to be said about like lived spaces that aren't tourist attractions. I feel like lived spaces that are tourist attractions make it less enjoyable to be there. Like if I go to a space, and then like when I went to Paris, I'm gonna start saying things when people are like, this guy travels, so, or not even travels, but this guy's been to I've been to like 4 places. But when I went to Paris, and I was like, went to the tower thing, whatever it's called, the Eiffel Tower, and yeah,
Roasted.
we got the CN Tower out here. No, but went to the Eiffel Tower, and it's just like the how commercial, uh,
Yeah.
like like selling like the gimmicky like toys and stuff. And
Yeah, but Sammy, you went to you gotta go. I did not for
if you're gonna
content.
travel to France for the first time or in Paris, you're gonna go to the touristy places, right? Like
Yeah, but like fair enough.
I went to the non-touristy. Like like our Airbnb wasn't a non-touristy spot. I would
Yeah.
say overall it was like non-touristy, but like the touristy spots we like you got to go at least once, and then like we're not gonna go back to the touristy spots. But obviously the non-touristy spots we went to, the energy is different. I'm just
Yeah.
saying like difference between the touristy spots that
Yeah.
have been kind of taken over by
Tourists.
people. Yeah, well, like tourists, but like people aren't really living and interacting with these spaces for the sake of interacting with them because it's like
Yeah.
nice to, right? Like if you
Yeah.
actually go there, most people are avoiding,
Yeah.
right? Like if you ask
Yeah.
a Toronto person, they're like,
Interactions.
I've not been in 100 meters of the CN Tower. It's like I lived in Toronto for 2 years. I walked by there twice. I was
Yeah.
forced. I was like, I didn't even want to. It was just the fastest way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think there's something to be said about that. That's an interesting point. And I think that's also to be said about like the how do you say, like the culture of like the pace of life in some of these places is also different. Like my favorite part about I think going to Greece or Athens is it's like different. The way people move through space and use space is like totally like I remember I went to me, my mother, my sister, and our family friend went to Egina, which is an island not too far from it's like a little day trip you can do if you're ever in yeah, if you're ever looking for an island to stop by. And we literally spent the entire afternoon like we did like the whole tour walking around the area. And for reference, this island is really known for it's actually pistachios in particular, and then there's a few like monasteries that you can go visit and whatnot. But like we were all ruined out. We had seen all the ruins, I'd seen all the everything that you could ever see, and I was like I can't do anymore. So we actually just spent the day wandering the streets and then like stopping into random shops and chatting with people. But my favorite part about wandering these different islands and different places is that you just see people like just sitting and just enjoying the space like without necessarily a time. And there's not really a time crunch. Like we went to this cafe and we sat there for like 5 hours. And at one point, like we had our meal and then we just sat there and we're just chatting. And then at one point we're like, oh, I wish we had tea. And then funnily enough, this like restaurant didn't have any tea. And they literally went across this, they went next door to the like baker and they ordered a tea for us so that we could stay even longer. It's just a different way of navigating through the space and sitting there and listening to people coming out, like coming in and out of the space, or people are waving hello to each other. There's a sense of familiarity, and I like what you're saying, that you're adding to it. There's a history there, and it's lived, and there's people here that make the space worth being in, and you're just kind of adding to it by being there. But also you said something interesting about you just being kids and like wandering around and getting things. I mean, we could do another honestly topic episode on child-friendly cities or youth-friendly cities, and how the experience.
I know I'm saying things were youth friendly, but things did it. It was just like part of the norm, right? Like,
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Like whether it's actually designed for youth and whether or not the youth are doing it, are two different things. But I think there's something to be said about that, that you still felt comfortable enough to do it.
Yeah, even like I remember I was like 6 or 7, and there's like the barber near my grandma's apartment, and I just remember like it was like my mom, or like I don't know who was with me, my uncle or something, and like he got his haircut. He's like, okay, go, and he was like, all right, I'm gonna go back. You know how to go back? And I was like, yeah, I guess. And this barber gave me a sick haircut. Barbers over there give you like an espresso, a drink, a shot, whatever. I was like 6. They made me look like Elvis. They slicked my hair back. Puffy.
Oh, so cute.
Yeah, and I just like walked home. Like it was like whatever, like 2-3 minute walk. I don't know, like a 5-minute walk. I'll tell you right now, if I had kids, no 2-3 minute walk when they're 6 in Toronto. Like, absolutely not. I don't even. God bless Toronto, but like, goddamn.
It's
like seriously, it's like damn.
But that's fair,
because on my street alone, there was like 6 stabbings in like 1 month. I was like,
yeah, it wasn't great. Yeah.
Who's stabbing who and why? Like,
Yeah, that's a fair point. I mean, I'll admit it's funny because I guess also, it depends where you're living in Toronto. Like the neighborhood where I live in, like I said, 6 schools. There's nothing but teens and youths and other kids walking around the neighborhood all the time. But yeah, that's to be said that I live in a more I guess suburban area of like the inner of Toronto's. Like I'm still within Toronto, but I'm still like there's a lot of like what's it called, single family houses and whatnot, so the orientation of the inner streets are kind of made for a lot easier to navigate for kids. But still, that
yeah.
being said, you still don't see that many kids like walking themselves to school. And I know this from experience because I used to walk my younger sister to school. We have like a 8-year age gap, so
Yeah.
I was walking her around, and then when she started walking herself to school, mind you, we only live 10 minutes away from school, like 10 minutes away from the elementary school, 10 minutes away from the high school, 10 minutes away from the middle school. The kids, like parents did not want to send their kids out on their own. Meanwhile, when I was a kid, like I would just like I would literally
Where were
me and my
you?
friend. Hmm?
Where were you? Like,
Where
where
were
were you
we? Where
growing up?
were Oh yeah, so I guess my first story is that I was in Montreal at the time, and then me and my friend we would just take our bike and we would just like disappear and then come back, and like it was fine. But that being said, in hindsight, looking at the neighborhood we lived, if anyone's from Montreal, we lived in Bois-Franc, which is now looking back with all this, I guess, knowledge now, it was like a master plan community. So it is again oriented towards it's more kind of like an enclosed space, and it is like hardcore downtown Montreal. So I'm sure that's a different experience. But then my other story I was thinking about when I was in middle school and living here in Toronto, me and my friend would just take our bikes and we would go downtown. Like we would literally go on the subway and we'd just get out and we just kind of like explore and see what it was all about, and then try and make our way back home before dinner time, although that didn't always happen. But yeah, it's
Like
also
getting
different.
back home. You never made it back.
Yeah. Honestly, getting back home was tough because I remember once we took our bikes on the
I haven't seen my
train.
real family in 5 years.
We took
Mom,
the
if you're
train.
seeing this.
We took the
No, you
train
can't
and
make
we
fun
went
of
all
kids
the
when you're
way.
lost. This is not it. Oh man.
We went all the way to like the Danforth, and like where I live up here, like in the north
Yep.
end. So we went all the way down to the Danforth, not realizing how far away it was on bike to get back home. And we literally called up our other friend, and this was before like phones had I think phones had data at this point. So we called our friend on our like flip phones or our bar phones, and we're like, "Hi, are you by the computer?" And she'd be like, "Yes." I'd be like, "Okay, we're at this intersection. Can you Google how to get us to the next station or how to get home?" And that's how we would like
Mission
navigate ourselves.
Impossible right there.
Yeah, that's how we would navigate through the city, and that's how I
Yeah.
got to learn a lot about
Impossible.
Toronto. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's different.
Yeah.
Being
Yeah.
a kid's
It
different
is
now.
for sure. It's like funny to say. You'd assume a more kind of I don't want to say developed, but like a less suburban, like a city, like
Mm-hmm.
civilized, like a civilization, like a city would be kind of safer to like walk in as a kid or something because there's so many people and whatnot. Like honestly, in the suburbs, because it's dead. Like the suburbs dead, and you walk to school 15, 20 minutes
Yeah.
through the neighborhood or through the
Mm-hmm.
ravine or something, right?
Yeah.
I remember like growing up, I would walk a lot to school in the summertime and stuff, and I would see a lot of my like younger kids. I was like in grade 7, and kids are in like grade 6 or 5 walking to school, uh, or 4 even walking to school by themselves, and it's just like it's interesting because I don't know. I felt safe, but I don't feel like I would have felt safe if I was walking to school in some of the spaces I was living in, like Toronto or even other cities I lived in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's not even like safety of people, it's like safety of like crosswalks, transportation, like all of that stuff, right? It's like not,
Yeah.
oh, I'm worried what people are gonna do, but like, man, a lot of times as a grown up, I've almost just been hit.
Run over.
Even though I've like paid attention, I don't see anyone, and I just start walking, and some dude on his like electric bike is just like pulling a quick one, and I'm just like, dude, why? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
gotta go deliver this ice cream before it melts in my bag, bro, and just like about to kill me.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, I'm about to walk into traffic.
No, I mean, case in point, unfortunately, like I said, the neighborhood is full of kids. There's youth wandering
Yeah.
all over the place. Children have died in my
Oh
neighborhood because
damn.
they've been hit by cars, like
Damn.
literally.
Yeah.
Because even though it's they tell you to slow down, people they love like
People
no,
don't. Yeah.
even same like I would walk my sister to school, and there's this one particular intersection which I'm pretty sure is where this poor young girl passed away. like the cars there don't stop. They don't care if you're with a baby. They don't care if you are a baby. Like if they see you coming, they will speed up. Like I remember this
Hey
car
baby,
Hey baby.
get out of the way.
I was literally crossing the street with my sister. So at the time I was probably like a tween, and she was very small. And I was walking also her friend. So I was here with a bunch of kids crossing the street. And as I'm crossing, they're honking at me. They're telling me to hurry up. I'm like, do you see the size of this child's legs? How fast do you want me to go? Like this is a school zone. Like chill, that's to be said. There's like very few crosswalks. Like we're kind of all jaywalking, to be honest, because there's like a stop sign, but it's like it's not an always stop sign. It's kind of like stop if you can. So you're just kind of like, you're playing what's that game of like one of those video games where you're like trying to cross the street before you get knocked over. It's kind of a bit of that. But there's no other choice, there's no other way to go, and it's like the quickest route for most of these kids. But that being said, our crosswalks, and that's a whole other discussion too about crosswalks and safety and how we're designing our streets, how we're creating space or creating giving opportunities for making pedestrian friendly like infrastructure.
Well, that falls under some of the principles of the 15 minutes to do, right?
Exactly.
And like, we can go on forever about this, but we're talking about like third spaces or like public spaces or community spaces. If you talk to an urbanist or even one of our profs, they'll tell you like streets and sidewalks and these spaces are public spaces, right? They're pedestrian first spaces. And them in themselves are kind of in a way third spaces if you want to think about them as a third space. But I perceive them to be, and like I think the rules for jaywalking, it's like it's only jaywalking if you're interrupting traffic, essentially. And overall, like the streets are for the people and the roads are for the people, and don't do crazy things. I'm not recommending to do crazy things in the streets, but you catch it. Good. You wanna wrap it up?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more we could say about I think all these
maybe
topics,
part two.
but maybe part two. Yeah, if people
Maybe
have
part
more
two.
questions, always happy to expand on it and talk more. But yeah, ultimately, thanks everyone for listening. Make sure to follow, like, subscribe, and share with your friends and family,
Hit
your
the
dog
notification bell.
Hit the notification bell, stay in the loop. Yeah, and check out and stay tuned for more content coming your way.
Yeah. Solid. Peace.